everybody has generational trauma. You can't help but have it. We may not visualize it as trauma, but for me, in the last decade, I have been working on myself. It's no one else's fault, by the way, you guys. You can't fix anyone else. You can't tell your mom, don't say that to me anymore. It triggers me. You can't change anyone else. You can only work on yourself. And so this book is set up to give you the tools to create new pathways, understand what that looks like, and recognize when a negative thought comes up, where did that come from? When I was growing up, I came from a broken home. My dad was an alcoholic. He left when I was 5. I lost my brother at 14, which totally destroyed my family.
Hey there, it's Sandy Scarlatta. Get ready to dive deep into incredible stories of people who've taken life's challenges and turned them into a roadmap to happiness. On this show, we're not just talking about overcoming obstacles. We're uncovering the real, gritty secrets to living a life filled with peace, joy, and genuine happiness. This is Happiness Solved. So let's get started, because happiness is a choice and the choice is yours. Hello, Jana. Such a pleasure to see you again. How are you doing? How's everything going?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Great. So Jana Short is one of the most amazing people I've ever interviewed. And it's such a delight to have you back on the second time, because I love your story. For the viewers and listeners, Jana, I was thinking about Donna, because I know you through Donna, and I was thinking, I haven't talked to Donna in a while. No, but Jana is the editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine, which has over 1.5 million subscribers. But the reason she's on today is her new book, The Yet Factor, has just been released, and I want to talk all about it. I love the title.
Thank you. I'm super excited about the title too. That came to us after the book was written.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Called Chairs Not Included, because women needed to bring a chair to the table, right? And afterwards, my grandkids said, "This looks like your yet factor." I'm like, my what? And they're like, your yet factor. Because I was always telling them, don't say that. You haven't done that yet. Now go try again.
I love it. Okay, so walk me through this here. So what happened? So you wrote the book and tell us about it. And then it was your grandkids that actually came up with the title. That's really funny. And you didn't pull that out of it when you were writing it? Were you talking about? Okay.
I don't think I did pull it out of it, even though it's throughout the magazine, the book. That's exactly what I'm talking about, is the yet factor and how it changes our thought patterns and creates new neural pathways. And so when they said, that sounds like your yet factor, I'm like, dang, that would be a really good title.
That's awesome. Okay, so why did you write the book? And give the audience some insights on what they're going to get out of the yet factor.
So I wrote the book because it was something that changed my life. I knew nothing about mindset or creating, changing neural pathways, or even a block to me. What do you mean a block? I didn't realize that I had blocks, and I didn't even understand. Even my husband, when I was writing the part about generational trauma, is like, that's ridiculous. Why are you blaming it on generational? He's Jewish. I'm like, how do you not understand generational trauma? And let me explain it to you. And he goes, well, yeah, but I go, everybody has that. Everybody has generational trauma. You can't help but have it. We may not visualize it as trauma. But for me, in the last decade, I have been working on myself. It's no one else's fault, by the way, you guys. You can't fix anyone else. You can't tell your mom, don't say that to me anymore. It triggers me. You can't change anyone else. You can only work on yourself. And so this book is set up to give you the tools to create new pathways, understand what that looks like, and recognize when a negative thought comes up, where did that come from? What place in my life did that come from? So I'll give you a real quick example. When I was growing up, I wanted to go to college. By the way, I was a single mom at 17. So my mom just wanted to get me married off, right? And I wanted to go to college. I had other plans. I was going to go to college, and I was going to create this beautiful life for me and my daughter. And I asked about going to college. What would she be able to do to help me? And she basically nothing. She did not believe women should be educated, that we should be homemakers. And if we became too educated, our husbands would feel insecure. Or if we created a bigger income than them, money would always be a problem, that they would feel insecure about this. And that sat in the back of my head for years and decades. That I will tell you, I'm pretty intelligent. I mean, there are some things I'm not great at, but I would go to business meetings in big corporate settings where I might be the only female face at the table, and I dummied down. I played ditzy, dumb. And when I had a great idea, instead of finding my voice and using it, I would turn to the male next to me and say, you know what I was thinking? And I would tell him. And then I'm like, yeah, that would be a great idea. That's such a good idea. You should say that. And they immediately thought it was their idea. And they would bring it to the table. And I would sit back and take no credit for it, right? And watch them keep growing while I sat back, because I was afraid to intimidate men with my voice, my strength, or my skills. And I just don't feel that way anymore. But I had to recognize in me, where did that come from? Did my mom say that to hold me back? Absolutely not. Sandy, my mom said that like we all do as parents, because that was her idea of protection for me. She wanted to see me safe, someone taking care of me, right? In an environment where my relationship lasts forever, in the magical world of foreverness. And so she was doing everything she did to protect me, because that was her limiting belief that she was raised with. So that's where generational, by the way, comes into limiting beliefs too. Her parents told her the same thing. Don't get too educated. Don't be making too much money. And by the way, when you look at some older movies, um, you see that where the woman shouldn't be making more. He feels intimidated, like, wait, what's happening? I'm not the man of the house anymore. And so it even is put in our face on television shows. What was that show series from way back when? Mad Men. Mad Men. Oh my gosh, when
Oh,
you look
right.
at what women's places there and what we were taught was good and we thought we were awesome there, it turns out we weren't so awesome, and we were stifled, right? We are more than homemakers. We are more than moms. We are more than daughters and sisters and wives. We are this beautiful human being that has needs and wants and visions and dreams. And we really need to tap into that and use that to move forward into whatever it is we see ourselves going.
I love that. Wow. So I want to circle back to what you said, and I love that you framed it this way when you were talking to the audience, saying, you can't, tell your mom you can't say that to me anymore because that triggers me. And I feel like our society has become so, well, I think it's part of the reason why we're so divided, number one. But number two, I think that we place our own feelings, the responsibility of how we feel, on so many other people. And people don't take responsibility for it. And I have to be honest, and I'm saying this because, I try to be as authentic as I can. We had a team meeting with a group that I'm in, and someone was giving feedback, and I was talking with someone else, and it was so hard for me because my default is, well, when they said this, it made me feel like this. And I stopped myself and I was like, wait a second. I'm like, I have to be responsible for how I'm feeling, and nobody else can make me feel that way. I'm responsible for it, right? But it was almost like a default. Well, they said this and it made me feel like this. Okay, well, whose fault is that, right? It's my fault. It's not on them. But it's so hard. It's so hard, right? As humans, because we're just so wired like that.
We
I feel
are.
like,
Here's the
right?
thing, every time you let someone create a feeling in you, even happiness or joy,
Right.
you are giving away your power, right? You
Right.
cannot claim that they made me sad. They hurt my feelings. By the way, I've done this with my kids and grandkids for years. No one can hurt your feelings unless you give them the opportunity to. You have to
That's
hand
right.
over that power. And sometimes it means getting a thicker skin, or sometimes it means just looking at where that's coming from. So I'm going to tell you a very dark secret that's in the book. When I was growing up, I came from a broken home. My dad was an alcoholic. He left when I was 5. I lost my brother at 14, which totally destroyed my family. And when I went to school, I was a bully. I was the most horrific bully. I was super
Mm.
popular. I was on the cheer team. I had a circle of friends that followed me around, and it wasn't enough to fill me, right? Whenever I felt like they weren't paying attention to me, I would bully. I would bully strangers walking by. And I go to sleep to this day and still see faces, like faces of, here's a popular girl talking to me, and then I bullied her. I want you to know that that comes when someone's hurting your feelings or saying unkind things. There's something going on in their life. It's still not okay, but they're doing something like deflecting or doing something. If I hurt, you're going to hurt too. And so they are doing something that is put out there from a space of our hurt and something that needs to be healed in them. Like now, I don't like to even say I'm a bully, was a bully, but I was horrible. And it wasn't until I bullied the wrong person. The boy who was driving the car that my brother was killed in, he was our next door neighbor. So we still had to live together next door. And by the way, I told you I was pregnant at 17. My 17-year-old daughter was his twin brother, was the dad. And so there was this huge fight between our families. And I remember I tried to be loving and kind and forgiving. And I remember talking to him about 2, 3 weeks later, and he wanted to go buy a new truck. And I'm like, why are you asking me? My brother was killed in the old truck. And so he said something that I didn't like. And I immediately went into, man, I think back, my mouth was a weapon of mass destruction. And I said to him, what do you know about that? You're a murderer, remember? And the look on his face from, she's forgiven me and there's love and I can move forward. Just, I felt it. I felt it. I saw it. He never spoke to me again. And I had to walk away knowing that the last thing I said to this person was words of hate, digging right to the place I knew it would go. And it was awful. It was absolutely horrible. And that changed me. I still see faces. This is so sad, but I see faces of people I hurt. And that reminds me when I see someone being unkind, or the Karens on TikTok that you guys are shoving a camera in their face so that you can get more followers. And then you go poking them, calling them names and getting them riled up. Those are the people you need to set down your phone and say, I am so sorry. Let's reset. Can I give you a hug? Are you okay? But instead, we want more followers. So we got a camera up in their face and we're just poking, poking, poking until they do something that we're going to get more followers. It's embarrassing, guys. It's so humiliating to see that non-compassion going out into the world when people are hurt, coming from a bully. If any of those people would have walked over and said, I'm sorry, like, is something wrong, and hugged me, immediately I would have felt humiliation. This person showing me kindness after I was unkind to them. But I will tell you that person probably would have bonded with me for life because they came out of being hurt, and instead of reacting in a way that most hurt people will by hurting back, you come out with some love. So in the book, you're going to read about that, and especially in the section where I talk about bullying. I think there's a little bully in all of us, but I had the big bully. And I'm grateful that I had it, because now I can recognize where it's coming from in other people and understand that that's coming from a place of hurt and just not fitting in, maybe, or feeling dislodged from wherever they need to be. So yeah, I feel like in the book you're going to learn a lot about bullying,
Wow.
self-bullying too.
Well, yeah, the self-bullying,
Yeah.
let's table that for a second. We can come back to that. But first of all, Jana, I just want to acknowledge you and your authenticity for coming on the program today and admitting that, because not many people can do that. So thank you. Thank you for that. That, I know that's not easy. And I think there's a bully in all of us, for sure. For sure. And I was bullied. I was bullied really badly. And I don't recall ever bullying anybody else because I was too afraid, but I definitely bullied my little brother. I think I took it out on him, right? Like, he was the one that got the brunt of me. And yeah, and it's, you look back and you're like, how could I have done that? But we all do it. And then there's the bullying toward ourselves, which seems to be more acceptable, right? And I'm really, really good at that. Let me tell you.
I think
Yeah.
most people, Sandy, are really, really good at bullying themselves. And
Yeah.
like, treat yourself like one of your kids. I remember one of my kids getting sick and taking her to the emergency room and being turned away. And I fought. They had to have a police escort me out of the emergency room. I put her in the car. I drove 30 miles to another hospital. Her appendix had ruptured. And they just kept telling me she had gas. But I knew instinctively, but I fought for her. If somebody did that to me, I know because I've done this. I had pulmonary embolisms. I went to the hospital and they said, I don't know what's wrong with you. Take an inhaler. I think it's asthma. And I left. I sat in my car and cried, and I was afraid to speak up for myself, knowing something more was wrong. And it almost took my life. So I
Oh my
will tell
gosh.
you that we have to stop treating ourselves that way. We have to start treating ourselves like mothering ourselves, like we would our children. Don't say that about yourself. You can do this, right? We have to talk to ourselves, like find that parent, the inner parent, that's going to start talking to that hurt, sad little child and help them come out of this. So I have another section in the book called Whack-a-Mole. Basically, it's talking about as you're growing and as you're learning your triggers and what's going on, and they come up, you just keep whacking them with something positive and just, oh, there's another one, whack, another one, whack. So you need to like get in there and start doing it. And pretty soon they start becoming, they fade. They're always going to be in there, by the way. Something will trigger them up at some point, but now you recognize it. But they start fading to the background, and this new neural pathway of positivity regarding that trigger starts pulling forward. It's the first thing that pops up. Just like normally, if you're hurt or backed in a corner, for me, it was my mouth would pop up because I wasn't a physical person. I wasn't going to punch you, but I knew my mouth would do the job.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. And then a lot of times for me, because a lot of the things that when I'm bullying myself, and I like that, I'm going to start using that more just because I think it's a little bit more of a, um, it's a bigger word. Let's just say like, it's a little bit harder, right? Because it's like, I don't want to, I would never bully anybody else, but yet I'm doing it to myself. And so, but I love that. But for me, what I tend to do is I'm like, is that true? I just, that's like the first thing when I'm being hard on myself, I will say, is that true?
Sandy, I'm going to
And
give you
then,
an example. When you get a compliment, what do? You look so pretty
thank,
today. What's the first thing you say?
thank you.
So
Thank you. I
you're good.
appreciate that.
You're good. But most women, and I hear it all the time, oh, thank you. I didn't do my hair. Oh, thank you. I just threw this on. And they deflect the compliment because
Yeah.
they aren't even feeling worthy of accepting a compliment from someone. And the
Yeah.
right word would be thank you. But that's a way of self-bullying ourselves. We're getting positive feedback from someone and we immediately negate it by saying, oh, I just got out of the
Oh,
shower. I'm
this
just
old thing. Yeah.
Yes. And so I want you guys to like realize that is self-bullying. So I want you to start finding that word. You don't have to give, some people have to like, oh, they gave me a compliment. Oh, I got to say something about them. You don't have to. You can just say, thank you. I really needed to hear that today. I appreciate it. And start
Yeah.
receiving those compliments.
Yeah. It took me a long time to be able to receive a compliment. And it was pointed out to me, it was probably at least 20 years ago. And somebody, because that was me, I'm like, I couldn't receive it. I was incapable of receiving a compliment. And today I can receive a compliment. And I usually, and I learned, oh, I don't have to say anything back. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do, right? Because for me, if I'm going to give a compliment back, it's not that I don't think it, but I want it to be authentic and not say it just because they're giving me a compliment. Because
Right.
to me, that just feels phony.
It's also canceling out the compliment.
Right.
It's like
Right.
saying thank you, bud. So
Thank you.
thank you, bud.
Bye.
You look good too, like right. So no thank you, buds. Just a thank you. Thank you for your kindness. I appreciate it. I needed that today, and then leave it. Accept it.
Yeah. That receiving part. So do you dive into the book kind of why women have more of an issue with that than say our male counterpart?
No, and I do mention when I start, the book is more for women, but I do mention all the things that our parents taught us, or our grandparents, or our generational things that have been passed down for women. I also flip the coin on what that must look like for men. How stressful that must be that you're the breadwinner, right? You have to do this. You have to marry. You have to take care of your kids. But you do have to take care of your kids if you have kids. But having said that, there must be a lot in their brains that are going on that I just don't know anything about. I have one son, and I dedicate part of my book to him because he taught me a little bit about what goes on in the mind of men, but he always made me laugh because I'm like, why would you do that? Like, I don't know if you have children or girls or boys. But I have three daughters and a son. When my girls were up to something or did something, I knew exactly where it was coming from because I had done it. I know what they were thinking, why they did it. I even know when it was coming. But with my son, he would do things. I'm like, why? I don't, I don't know why you did that. And it would be like, I don't know. I don't really think he knew either. like he was giving me a true answer. But he really woke me up to how we are totally different in the way we think. And so I know part of the book is got a little bit for men, but it's mostly for women. And it dives into more of our thought process and our patterns and
Okay.
recognizing we don't even recognize that this voice is going off in our heads saying horrible things. We think of it as logic. Like, and we should be logical. We're starting a new business, right? What are the pros? What are the cons? But sometimes our brain focuses on all the cons, not the pros. Oh, yeah, that would be great if it was successful, but what about this? What about this? And it holds you back from diving into something special. So I always tell people to separate their brain thinking from their soul thinking and take a beat, shut your brain down and try to tap into the feeling. Is this a good space for me? There's things called muscle testing you can do. For me, those are very accurate. But I just want to see if I should be leaning into it. And I always listen to my gut, because even though all those things my con brain was saying are accurate, I know there's going to be a way to overcome them. And so it doesn't hold me back anymore. And I shut it down like, no, no, we're doing this. And it's called the yet factor, because I haven't done this yet. When you say the word yet, so if you say I can't do this, it's slam the door. I can't.
Right.
Slam. Shut. There's no possibility. Your brain is like a computer, and you just told your computer, shut the door, no possibility. Done. But if I say I haven't done that yet, it goes to slam and it's like, wait, what? She said yet. It like, do we need to start planning for this? And your brain leaves open the possibility of it happening. And so
Right.
it may never happen, but it could, because you just left the door and didn't slam the door. So be careful of the words you use, because it truly does program the brain. Whatever we put in it is what it uses to move forward. So I feel sick all the time, or I have a headache all the time, right? When you're telling your brain that, it's preparing you for it. It's giving you headaches. So by the way, there could be medical reasons for you to get a headache, but I'm just
Right.
saying a lot of this we can stop with our brain. So I would tell you the yet factor is magical in relationships, in business. I haven't found the love of my life yet. I haven't, I haven't healed with my mother yet, but I'm working on it, right? I'm open to it. It tells that computer to not shut it off and slam that door and lock it. So it really does transform your thinking into possibilities.
I love that because it really is. Our brain really is a computer, number one. And if we, and I think that, it's funny because I just had a conversation twice last week on future episodes that'll be released. And we were talking about that, how the brain is like a computer. And I think in today's world, because everybody is carrying a computer in their hands, with their cell phone, I think they can start to really relate to that a little bit more than they could even 10 years ago. But that, and I feel like, so glad we're having this conversation, because I feel like I'm preaching to the choir sometimes when I'm constantly talking about your thoughts and it's the computer, right?
Yeah.
Because our brains are like that computer. And when you're saying you can't do it, you are shutting the door and you're telling the computer, control alt delete, basically. Right.
Right.
Love that.
100%. And it's gone. It's harder to open a
Yeah.
locked door. I'm just going to use words in a way that I think I might have written about this in the book. And Sandy, you're going to really recognize this. But do you remember on Christmases, usually in our stockings, one of the things I would always get is a diary to write my thoughts down. By the way, my mom never believed in writing your thoughts down because they can be used against you. No one can hang you for what you're thinking, is what she used to tell me. But she would give us a diary, or Santa did, and we would write in it. But remember what came with that diary? A lock and a key. You lock that
Right.
little lock on your diary so no one can hear your thoughts, or your voice is muffled. And that wasn't even good enough. You had to find the best hiding place in the house, under your mattress or somewhere back in your closet, because, oh my gosh, if somebody got my thoughts, right, it would be horrible. And now I
Right.
love that I see. So that's what, by the way, that's what I can't does. It closes it off, puts a lock on it, and hides it in the back closet. You don't know it's there. It's there, but you just don't know it. But now we see people journaling freely, men, women, kids, doing journaling, and they're freely doing it. There's no lock on that. They're posting pieces of their journal, right? They're talking, oh, there's video journaling, and they're just
Right.
opening themselves up and being authentic. And it makes my heart sing. They're also being bullied from people like old me who are insecure and are wishing we could do that, right? But they still do it. They still go out there and like, this is my story. If you don't like it, don't follow. And I applaud them for that. Like, I feel like I hope they're the new generation, people that are not afraid to use their voice anymore.
Yeah, because authenticity, they're saying, is a higher frequency than love.
Yeah,
Where
I do
love
believe
is,
that. Hmm.
yeah, love is 528 hertz. I don't know what they're saying authenticity is, but I've read multiple articles that have stated that, and it's just so much easier to be yourself, right? Don't you find it just to be easier?
Yes, but people aren't. Like, I'm going to tell you, the young me, the better body, better skin me. When I first got married, I would do like that. Miss Maisel, I did that. I put my makeup on before my husband got home or up, and I would do my hair, and I would lay on the pillows so that I couldn't move. So he would always think I was beautiful. I didn't even go to the trash, take out the trash unless I was completely done. And now I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? Like, why did I do that? Like, this is what I look like. This is who I am. And so I don't do that anymore. I don't care if my husband sees me in the way I look. I think it comes with age. Like, you're just like, I don't care. But when you're younger, it's so
Yeah.
important, right? How do I look? What does this make me look like? And it's the filters that people are using is insane. You're beautiful. Like, I see all my little wrinkles. Like, I waited for those. I earned them. When did getting old become a bad thing? It's a privilege. And so I think people should like enjoy who they are, what they are. I don't care if you dress up for holidays or you feel like putting makeup on because it makes you feel good. I do makeup because when I was sick, a sick person looked back at me in the mirror and I couldn't. It was driving me insane. And so I did my makeup to go somewhere. And when I looked in the mirror, I'm like, that's the person. That's the person I'm going to be, healthy. And so it was a healthier reflection for me. So it helped me visualize what I was going to when I was healthy on a regular basis. So it's okay to use makeup. I'm just saying, you're beautiful no matter what. You don't have to fake it. And it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And I know I'm grateful for COVID because I know that during COVID, my whole routine changed. And I was one of those that would not go to the grocery store or be seen without lipstick and a little bit of mascara, just a little bit of makeup. I wouldn't be full makeup. And now I find myself going out with zero makeup, nothing, and I don't even care anymore.
Yeah,
But
me,
it was hard to get to that point. No, I'm just being honest. It was hard for me. It was
you'll
because
see
you're
me usually
changing.
in a ball cap, no makeup, ever.
Yeah, but when you're trying to change years and years or decades, in my case, decades of habit, it's not always easy to do it. But it's just, you're right, it's exhausting to always trying to be on like that.
That's another generational thing. What did our parents do to women? They dressed them up. Like, you have to look like this,
Yes.
and perfect. This is my little girl, and this is how we're going to make them look. So we felt like this is what we have to look to get approval for our dates or whatever. But I'm telling you what, just show up as yourself because they know what they're getting, right? And if there's beautiful days that you feel like doing that, go ahead and do it. Just whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Exactly. It's totally fine. So, um, for those of you, Jana just talked about when she was sick. There's a whole other interview that I did with Jana. What was it? 2 years ago, I think it's
Yeah.
been. Wow, it's been like 2 years now. Wow, where Jana goes into that. How are you feeling today? Because you've got quite a condition going on, and
So
I'm
I
still
feel
amazed.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Having said that, every day for me is a struggle. Like, I don't eat food like normal people do. But it's here. I'm here and I'm joyful and I feel amazing. It's like I deal with it. But it feels like one of those gophers digging out of the hole and then someone covers you up and you're digging out again. But life is worth the dig. So I'm just going to keep digging. And again, I do feel great. So thank you for asking, by the way. I feel good and my health has been good. I keep getting thumbs
Good.
up, doing all my
Good.
proactive stuff.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, folks. This has been such an amazing conversation. Get the book, The Yet Factor. It is totally going to be life changing for you because this woman let me tell you what she's been through and what she goes through on a daily basis. And if she can have that attitude of the yet factor, so can you. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care now.